Welcome back to Anime Savants, everyone, and this week, I am Rex.
Oh man, continuing previous theme, I am Hiei.
Oh, alright, and I'm Rex for a very specific reason.
What is a very specific reason?
And my god, you will find out the reason if you beat Xenoblade 3.
Damn, okay, I gotta get out of that.
But,
I'm like on chapter 6.
Oh, you're okay. Listen. Oh my god. But yeah. Whatever. Let's get started this week. Is there anything in particular that you want to talk about before you talk about like your main?
Oh
thing?
yeah. Real quick on Classroom of the Elite. We're not gonna go into any details on because Jordan hasn't caught up yet. I thought this was a good episode. We got a new game coming. Really curious about what they're doing around Ayana Koji and this new girl. Well, I mean, she's been in the class, but this new girl who's kind of coming on to him. But they seem to be playing it vanilla. Like, there doesn't seem to be any malice there. So it's like, is that are we getting some character growth from this guy? I don't know. So I enjoyed that. I'm slowly catching up on Mushoku Tensei, like bit by bit by bit. I finished the first season. And now I'm sort of at the very beginning of the next season.
Okay.
Still following all the various isekai. I don't know if we talked last week as much about Harem in the Labyrinth kind of after the move into full-on porn. But the last episode that I think they released on Wednesday, so I think it came out after when we recorded. But the latest episode bothered me because I think actually this is the better of the 4 isekais because there wasn't a lot of the usual like smut. It was they put a lot of effort into the RPG system, so it was a system heavy kind of episode, and it just reminded me how it bothers me that it's the trash with the most going on of like almost anything else that's happening. And I would even include some of the non-isekai shows too. Like it's I'm not gonna claim it's not trash. It is trash, but it's inspired trash, and I don't know why. So that was pretty good. What else? Yurei Deco, the middle. We're sort of middle season, so I would say like the last couple of episodes have gotten more, not so much Monster of the Week, but like once they became the detective club and we kind of got that aspect, it kind of slowed down into more understanding things about the world. But because the characters are kind of off the grid now and you're seeing what the world is like without the decos.
Yeah.
It's kind of jarring, but I think it's on purpose. Like the characters are still drawn in a very lively, vibrant way, but whenever you get the perspective outside of town with the decos not working, everything is like run down and drab, and you really get the feeling of like there's something wrong with this world because you remember what it looked like when you started the series, and now you're seeing it without all of the embellishment. And the writing is still really, really good on that as well. I'm trying to think, is there what else between then and now that I've looked at? I watched Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory again. I was reminded from a YouTube channel that was doing like reviews of all of the Gundam releases chronologically, and they got to that one, and then I stopped it, and I was like, I actually had good memories of this, so I went back and rewatched like 80-90% with like a few things skipped over because I remembered it and I kind of didn't need the exposition. And as much as like I really enjoy UC Era Gundam, now that I'm rewatching it kind of quickly end to end instead of sporadically over like 3 years whenever I could get the VHS tapes, I don't think the story holds up because I think there are a couple of characters that are absolutely god awful. And for years I saw people like throwing out online and like Gundam Twitter and fandom how much they hate Nina Purpletons, which was the female the main female supporting cast member for this series. And I always just said I didn't like her design very much, but my memory of her was like, oh, pretty grounded, working individual, because she actually had a job. She was a researcher and engineer and did a lot. But then I went back and rewatched it, and it's true. After like episode 5 or 6, and probably even before that, her character just is the absolute worst. and is the catalyst for some absolutely horrible shit. She never gets her comeuppance. She basically sides. She switches sides, sort of in the middle of the show. But what it means is it allows her ex-boyfriend to like kill hundreds of thousands of people, and then at the end she doesn't get her comeuppance, and it's like, oh, this sucks.
She doesn't.
She sucks. Yeah, no, she doesn't. So I was like, it kind of blows. But a lot of really good suit designs. Gundam GP0 1 and 2 are awesome, even though they're like the chunky but funky Gundams. So I thought that part was cool. So, that's pretty much all I saw in the last
well, I went and I watched the Gundam prologue, and that shit was fucking awesome. Happy birthday to you. It's pretty fucked up now.
That whole scene.
And oh my god. And you got a 4-year-old just pointing at shit on the screen. Look, mommy.
Die!
Look!
Die!
Look, mommy, look! Look, mommy! Doesn't even know what the fuck she doing.
Nope.
But then also, for that episode to be 24 minutes, like, I was in that shit. Like, I don't know who is the director or, like, what's going on, but, like, they put their foot in that shit for the prologue. So I have, like, I'm looking forward to what we're going to be getting for the season, because that was a really good introduction. Even from just, like, the very beginning to the hints and the mom trying to go to the 33rd layer and the Gundam's not responding. The moment... I mean, we already knew that because she's the main character. But, like, the moment that the doctor put the little girl in the thing and let her, like, scan in, I'm just like, oh, Lord. Like,
yo, I had bad... Like, they did a great job grounding so much shit in that episode, so I felt like I learned a lot about the world. I did have, like, major red flags when they were letting a child kind of just, like, run around that base, and but nobody was, like, evil, but the main doctor or whatever their boss was, the old lady, when she let her scan in,
she did it on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm like, I don't know about this one. And then she kind of went out like a G, which was pretty cool.
I do like the basis though behind the Dom units, the Gund stuff.
Yeah,
where it's like it was intentionally made for people whose bodies could not adjust naturally to space. So like they needed like orthopedic things like that. And then it was turned into militarized fucking shit.
Right, basically the brain interface part of it became the core of that Gundam system, or the Gund system, which is then, the catalyst for why there's a different class of mobile suits out there, and why they're so different. I was like, I bought that pretty hard, actually. It's interesting, if you go back to like G Gundam, or all the way back, so like when they started doing the alternative century stuff, I think G Gundam is the only one where the primary plot wasn't that the Gundams themselves are evil in some way, because if you go forward, it was just
tournament style
exactly. I mean, obviously, like the villain has an evil machine, but it wasn't that Gundams are evil. But then if you go right to the next one, Wing, they were the antagonist suits, technically, right? They were. Yeah, and so obviously we know they're the heroes, but the Gundams were evil in that sense. And then I don't think Seed kind of had that vibe, even though I think the Seed Destiny,
they were like developing it in that.
I think Seed Destiny, they kind of leaned into that idea a little bit more.
That was more so about like the different races of the humans.
Yeah.
Seed,
so I know in Destiny, because they kind of switched perspectives, and it was kind of after the war. There was, you got all the enemy suit teams were being basically killed by their machines, or that they were like psychopaths. And then if you go again, like recently, IBO Gundams were basically evil. They were like something horrible from the past, and then now again we're getting the similar vibe. I don't want to say same. So I want to see how that plays out. I'm very interested in this new milieu. Also, the suits look great. All the regular suit designs. Great. Yep.
Action was great. Even the dad's suit and his little thing.
I mean, he did something. He didn't get like washed.
Yeah, the antagonist suit clearly has something that can like neutralize gunned shit. So that like, hey, but also how much of this does she remember? Like, where we go? Where did they go? How the fuck did she get into the school with the Gundam? Right. How do they know it's not a gun? Like, or do they?
I think it'd be really cool if they take some inspiration from like Gundam Wing, right? The idea of sending her back as like a teenager, like secret operative, you know, wherever it is that she winds up. I think that would be just a cool vibe because they're already using other themes from other alternative century Gundams, so that would be cool. By the way, I just remembered that also Turn A, the Gundams were evil.
Oh,
yeah. So, because of the World War that like annihilated the planet, and then the moon people brought back a counter Gundam unit that was like a weapon of mass destruction.
Oh my god!
Do you ever watch Turn A?
No.
Turn A is fucking weird. I actually recommend it to a lot of people because it's the least Gundam like alternative century, but also in some ways one of the most Gundam like. And the reason why I like it is that when it gets super weird at the end with like reality altering superpowers, and they show glimpses of other Gundam shows.
Oh,
like I thought that shit was fucking wild. I thought that was really. It reminded me in very low key ways of like Bioshock Infinite when you know you realize what the power is.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So like they were doing some pretty crazy shit like that. So I really appreciated it. But
Bioshock Infinite was the only Bioshock I played because I was like, oh, this is bright. I can actually do this one. No.
That's funny.
So as besides far as, like, Wish from Mercury, I've been keeping up with Pretty Cure. And I know I had that like mini rant last time where I was like, oh, they cheaped out and they did this with the ending and blah blah blah. They actually didn't. They actually came back, and they have like a completely new ending song, which is actually, in my opinion, one of the best ones in like the entire franchise. Song and dance, or stuff like that. And then I remembered I was doing that ranting, but also Toei got hacked earlier this year. True. A lot of shit got like derailed because they like took One Piece stopped airing, Pretty Cure stopped airing. What else? Did Digimon? Is Digimon Toei? Digimon's Toei, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Digimon stopped air for a little bit. Like a lot of like their like mainstay money makers was like went out of business for a bit, so I can imagine that's probably why that happened. And then also, I really don't talk about like Love Live that much on here, but this new season is very interesting in the way that like a lot of the previous seasons they've made out the like rival teams to be like, oh, they're our rivals, but like we're friendly and we're eventually gonna do a duet with them. But like this season, I am enjoying the way that they're introducing the antagonist. Not to say that she's like evil or whatever, but the girl, like they just added a new girl to their group and they did like a premiere with her, a new song and shit, and they were like on like cloud 9. And then all of a sudden they like walk over to like this girl's performance and she's singing solo and she just fucking annihilates the shit to the point where like all the girls are like threatened and they're just like, she's way more talented than all of us put together. Like, what the fuck is this shit? So
it's a cold fact.
So it's very interesting to see like almost an actual like adversary in the Love Live series, as opposed to just like, oh, we're friendly rivals. It's like, no, that's a rival. Like y'all are not on her level, like at all. You're gonna have to scrape for that shit. So they might be setting it up for a third season for them to like, you know, because I think the first season had 5 girls. They're gonna end this season with 9 girls, and then maybe the third season will be about them actually like being cohesive and like competitive. But that's just something that I thought was interesting as for a series that's been around for a minute. Love Live's been around for a minute. At least 10 years, I think now. Yeah, I think so. Or close to it. But I also watched that. What the hell else was there? I feel like there was
It feels like a short week, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much stuff that I just like have to catch up on. Like, I definitely want to get into the Otherworld Pharmacist simply because it seems like it's my kind of show, especially after watching the hero quitting the hero's party, shit like that. Like it gives me, I know they're not going to be like exactly the same, but I feel like the vibe of just like they're trying to do something regular and regular shit just ain't gonna fucking happen.
Well, apparently that show gets like litty real quick. Like
Really?
it's not just is it the Otherworld Pharmacy, which is the one with the
Otherworld Pharmacist,
the one with the guy who's like a genius who like isekais into the series. Is that Otherworld Pharmacy?
Yeah.
Apparently, the show goes ham.
Really?
Yeah, I saw some clips. I'm like, wait, there's combat in this?
There is? I didn't think there was gonna be combat.
I didn't think so either.
See, I knew it, because that's the exact same thing with like I'm quitting the hero's party. Like that nigga was supposed to be a pharmacist too, and from the first episode they made it very clear this nigga's never gonna be in the house. Like he's not gonna be doing this shit. So, all right, well, I'll be aiming for that. What else is there? Pokemon is about to start the semifinals. Ash is about to fight Cynthia, so you know they're about to animate the shot of that. What else? That's about it. All right, it's time.
All right, we're getting right to it then.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned before, maybe I didn't, that I was rewatching the Yu Yu Hakusho all the way through Dark Tournament up until the Black Saga arc, which is, to me, a lot of people remember the Dark Tournament as being like the high point, but Black Saga, which comes right afterwards, I think is the culmination of everything that was in the Dark Tournament, and it's also where a lot of I think the show itself peaked. Not to say that there weren't really good parts that came after that, but it combined all the aspects that make Yu Yu Hakusho as compelling as it is, because it's a storyline that ties all the way back to the beginning. Whereas like you can even think about later series that got big, whether it's Naruto, Bleach, any of the other big three. It's closer to what One Piece was doing, towards its midpoint, in the sense that characters that you met were still important, like side characters, like hundreds of episodes or chapters into the future, and it felt like there were a lot of payoffs to what at the time felt like penultimate confrontations, but they had ripples and they kept moving forward. So to start at the beginning, I watched Yu Yu Hakusho in parts when I was probably around like 12 or 13 years old. Some of it was on what aired on Toonami. I would go to my friend's house and like we would just like chop it up, and then we'd watch like whatever was on the block, and there was a lot of good stuff in there. It was Yu Yu Hakusho, it was Gundam Wing, it was Dragon Ball, Tenchi Muyo, it was like all that stuff. Really awesome. But I didn't have cable, so I would have the experience of waiting for things to come out on VHS to get a good deal, and then later on DVD. And so I kind of watched it in spurts. I didn't and when I couldn't find, I would like download on that really slow ass internet like tiny terrible real video encodes of like VHS rips. Like it was real bootleg. That's all I'm saying. Like the experience was not like it is now of watching it end to end, which is one of the ways I got sucked back into it. You see enough clips and you're like, okay, let me just go watch like the Blu-ray rips that are available. And not just like on third-party sites, but I think they're on Crunchyroll. You can watch it on a bunch of other services that are out there. Like it's ubiquitous. You can find it now. And the experience of watching Yu Yu Hakusho end to end, or at least like continuously with like a really high quality rip, gives you time to appreciate all the things that were so well done that have almost nothing to do with the story. First of all, for the time it was released, the animation is excellent. Like you'll sit there and be like, they are doing things with framing and camera angles and timing and pacing of certain pieces of the animation that shows today that can do the same stuff cheaper just don't do. The characters, for the most part, I would say that Kurama doesn't quite get as much development as they should, as well as like Hiei. He's kind of two-note when someone like Kuwabara, who I overlooked heavily when I was a kid because I felt like he was a dork, is actually one of the most emotionally well-rounded and characters, and also gets like a full, growth circle of his character, probably even more so than Yusuke does, because he's the one who kind of gets shit on a lot in the beginning, and that does he's a badass by the time Black Saga rolls around, and he's kind of like not rolling with the team anymore because they lied to him about Genkai dying. Like that whole situation, like that I remember as a bullet point, was actually stretched out over like 30 episodes, and it's great, and it feels like when they get back together and he powers up and he has no limits, you're like, yo, this is fucking sick. The balance between the main cast, I don't know if that has really been achieved outside of Hunter x Hunter. And even in Hunter x Hunter, it's kind of funny because there's Leorio is kind of in the I'm trying to think what spot he kind of fits into, because I guess it's kind of like Kuwabara, but he doesn't quite get the level of development Kuwabara does. But well, I mean, like, he's like the fourth wheel of the team for the most part. But even he gets moments. But my point is that like Togashi kind of has a balance that he likes to create among his main characters, and there's something about it that you just can't really find in other series, right? It's a big cast, it's a colorful cast, but nobody ever really feels left out. Even Keiko, who for the most part is just sort of a either a damsel in distress or just a girl who's not involved in the actual story, has a lot of development, and her relationship with Yusuke grows over the course of the show in a natural kind of way that makes sense, even though like they're both still silly teenagers and it's a lot of bullshit that's happening. So my experience like watching it, kind of front to back in a the way we like to consume stuff now, which is like binge watching, left me a lot higher on the series than even I had been from my nostalgic memory. It's just very well paced, at least up until the end of the Black Saga. Some of the stuff that comes after that, I know, like the Three Kings and someone kind of gets a bad rap for never getting to like the height of the Dark Tournament or the final showdown with Sensui in Black Saga. Like they kind of, it did feel like that Togashi needed new villains and kind of had to summon them up from scratch in a way that they didn't have the same long-term relationship with the rest of the plot that you kind of had building up until that point. But even like my memory of the Three Kings Saga, there's a lot of cool shit in there. I haven't rewatched that part yet, but I remember it being like pretty cool. And the last thing I'll say is, God damn, is Yusuke Urameshi the smokiest nigga I've ever seen in my life. Like, what? I had forgotten that he was about that action 24/7 in like, not in the like goofy kind of way that you tend to get with like these type of Yankee punk characters. Like they're brash and they always want to fight, but normally the dynamic is they get in over their heads and get their asses kicked, and then it's like, oh, they had to humble themselves and like learn their power better, or learn how to fight or whatever. And that does happen in this series. In fact, like I would say half of the show is some kind of a training arc that is happening. But my bigger point is that Yusuke will just run up on someone and cap them for almost any reason. There's you get that shit like right in the beginning when I think it's the Artifact Saga. I think that's the first time that he actually gets to like use his like spirit gun power and shit, and like Koenma is trying to train him. And there's a point where he rolls up on one of the three demons like Goki, and Goki already has Keiko. And so normally the way that scene plays out is like you run into one of the three bosses, you've got the girl, it's like tense, like how's the hero gonna separate them and then get no, bro. Yusuke meets this dude for the first time, the guy like screams his name and then he blows his head off. Like just because. And that's such a theme across the whole series where like he don't give a single fuck. His main power is a gun. This motherfucker has a gun and he uses it. So I'm just down for it. I'm down for all this shit. Like we need to I just saw that there was a rumor going around that got shot down that there was going to be another Full Metal Alchemist movie. It's not true. It was a hoax. But like, I started me thinking like, if we're gonna do remakes, and I know Hunter x Hunter already got its remake, god damn would Yu Yu Hakusho be a perfect. If we're getting Lum next year, right? Or is it in the fall or winter? But either way, they're remaking shit from the 70s. We could get a Yu Yu Hakusho remake popping real easy. And even the justification for doing it would be pretty strong because a lot of people always felt like the stuff that came after the Black Saga didn't get the level of care that some of the things before it. This is a perfect opportunity. It's still popular. People still remember it. Folks are nostalgic for it.
Yeah.
It's long. It's a very traditional shonen.
They redid Shaman King.
We did Shaman King. Yeah, like let's go, bro. Like, let's fucking do this shit. So.
Well, now, listen. Well, Netflix, they swooping them up. So it's not unrealistic.
So that's all I really gotta say about that rewatch. That it got me hype. I was like, and I wish that there was a way that you could even like relive the feeling of watching that shit on TV. Like, give me those Toonami bumpers on the breaks. Like, that shit would be fucking tight. Absolutely tight.
Which version of Toonami was out? Was that like the original one, or was that the one we had?
It was like the second update of their block, because I don't think they brought in Yu Yu Hakusho until they switched over to the Peter Cullen intros. Like Moltar,
okay.
All the Moltar stuff was like year 1 and 2, and then the voice actor who played that character died, and so that's when you got like Tom, because the first of the original Toonami block was built around like Space Ghost and like that stuff, and so they used all of those VAs for the bumpers, and Moltar was the main one, the main character that was in them. And then when his character died, they switched to how'd it go? They switched to Peter Cullen and then Tom, and with Peter Cullen doing like some of the promo stuff only.
Oh, okay.
What's the name of the voice actor who does Tom? I'm not forgetting his name. He's a known person, but like, yeah, that's my memory of how the order of things went. So if you want to figure out like what era a show was airing back in the day, you can always go back to the promos, and depending on who's doing them, that'll tell you when it was airing.
I have one news thing. It's my only news thing, and I'm honestly kind of surprised about it. But Skate is coming back.
My God.
With like a full second season and an OVA. I am honestly like, I thought it was possible, but I didn't think it was possible like this soon. Like that shit, that was what, 2021. 2021, and like,
did we talk about like the prospects of this getting a continuation?
I feel like we did. I feel like we did, because I think we were just more so surprised at how like popular it was, just like to the general public. I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, I know that they are scribbling, they are ready. I just want to know if Adam is coming back, is he gonna go to jail? Because
that character is coming back. There's no way that character's not coming back.
But like, who's gonna be the villain? Because I enjoyed Adam as a villain. Like, that was you. You literally are hitting niggas with your skateboard on the fucking track. Like, it just really didn't get better than that. Like, even the last fucking Skate thing where they did it in that like chasm and shit, I was like, I don't give a fuck about this. I give a fuck about that nigga washing niggas like on the track, like going backwards, riding up to it, like a menace. He was a menace. I loved it. So like,
there was some. What's that clip from like the Nigerian Mortal Kombat? He's like, all I want is problems. That's what he wanted.
That's Adam. And so I'm thinking, I was like, who is going to be the new villain? You know what? They have a lot that they could do with it, because like they were only really focused on like that one city and then like that town in that area. So they could definitely open it up to the rest of Japan, or they could be like hosting an international thing somewhere in Japan and have like niggas come through. But what needs to stay is that like they need to continue to have like vibrant characters for like each of the supporting cast. And I think that helped it a lot. Like if they just bring like generic ass like skaters who can just fucking like flip like wreck their ass, it's gonna be like, I don't care. I want crazy niggas like Adam. Like I need another crazy nigga. I need another one.
I don't know. So let me ask a question. Do you think that they should go, since we're getting a season 2, go over the top immediately? I just try to straight up surpass the insanity in season 1, like just go right for it, or go the other way, try to make things feel a lot more grounded, and then bring out the like insanity once you kind of lull things back down to a normal place.
I think that if it would have to be in the first episode, they would have to basically make things seem as though, you know, shit's chill, like this is going to be the new path, ha ha ha, and then like near the end of the first episode, or at the end of the first episode, it's just like, psych bitch, it's still like someone else took this shit over, and now Adam is also like, bitch, what's going on? This was mine. How, like, what are you niggas doing here? So now Adam is also like skating against some other people who are doing something, but we actually know like his risks because that bitch was investigating him. So like he has stakes. So in turn he becomes as he kind of like shuffles himself over into a supporting cast, but still a crazy bitch. So that means he still can hit niggas. He can still hit niggas. Because he just won't hit the main niggas no more. He'll hit other niggas, and then maybe them other niggas will hit him. Like I'm
so hesitant about like where to place my feelings about a second season. I'm happy about it, besides just being pleased. Because I'm always of two minds. It's like, what would make a better story or a better show versus what would make a better spectacle?
If
right?
they go
like,
deeper into the BL shit.
Yeah, well, that was kind of where I was leading with this. Because, like, for me, like, the BL aspect of it is not, like... They are not subtle about where they want to take the visual of it, but it doesn't really play into the story in any kind of a meaningful way, at least from what they did in season 1. They kind of left it very open-ended to visual interpretation, but when it came to, like... And Longa's what actually happened?
Thought they were dating, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
yes. So it's not so I think I kind of said back when it was airing, like, don't be a fucking coward. Like, either do it or don't do it.
I mean,
right?
Given is pretty popular. So like, if they like, just dabbled, they could honestly do Cherry and Joe. Because it's so fucking obvious. It's just like, just do them. They're not like the main characters. And Longa and Reki can have their shit, or like a girl could come. If they have a love interest this season, then it's just oh my god.
I would like, so that's what I mean. That if you wanted to absolutely mine the sort of, what's the right word for it? Like, it's like, we use a term, I don't think this is correct, but it's like edging, right? Like, they created ships, that BL ships, in the visual context of the show.
Yeah.
But and I don't think that they were like necessarily shy about any of it. So that's not my thing. But you could easily see, or I could see a situation where they take the crazy guy with the mask, I'm forgetting his name, and his
Shadow.
assistant. Yeah, like those two, that's a relationship. Cherry and Joe, I mean, like, they make it, they do the whole...
Adam
like,
and Tadashi.
Yeah, like, that's clearly like, even down to when they were doing all the flashbacks and shit. Like,
no.
Yeah, like, I don't
need... The dojins of those two, Jesus
There's
Christ.
so much, there's a lot more in that, honestly, than there, I think, even is in Longa and Reki. And I could easily see them, like, instead of zigging and just making everything, like, they're all gay. Right, like that would be the logical extension of where you would go if you wanted to just like pander and capitalize. I can easily see them like splitting in the other way, because you could introduce like a third wheel kind of female character into the mix, and you get your implied,
to push them.
You could get your implied love triangle. Never really go anywhere with it. Just play with it, right? Like she's into it. It could be. She's into Longa, Reki's in the middle of both of them, and Longa's oblivious, and there you get your three-way love triangle that covers every base. But given that they were, they didn't really want to push the subject too hard in the first season, outside of like just giving scenes of a bunch of boys in a hot tub, essentially, that's as far as they wanted to go there. You put that in there, you make that hard to read. You spin off the other adult characters, and then you make it more obvious what you're getting at with those. And I could see that sort of being like a middle ground where you've done something new. You're not breaking up any of the fan sort of interest in the different ships. You're still able to lean into the BL stuff, but now you've broadened the target of the show a bit.
Very much.
That's what I would do in order to preserve what they already had. But that's playing it very, very safe. Whereas if you just go over the top with everything from like moment one and just make the whole thing a farce, and it's very obviously BL only, and that's your target audience, I feel like you get a much purer sort of experience at the expense of probably a better story, or at least a more dramatic story.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one I would prefer to see.
Now that you said Adam and Tadashi, I'm just like, I'm ruined because of the Dojins. So now I'm just like,
oh, I don't know nothing about all that.
Yeah. But like, I'm ruined because of the Dojins of those two. So like, the moment I see them on the fucking screen, I'm just gonna be like, oh wait, no, that is not canon. But the way that they are portrayed in the show is kind of just like, oh my god, like it's so obvious that something has happened between you two. Like, Jesus Christ.
But even if it didn't, I liked the archetype that relationship played into, both in like culturally for Japan, and I don't know, you tell me if that's like common in like BL things, but like, the office romance type where it's, strong, handsome dude, sort of submissive servant type person.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh,
but
God,
because it's repressed through the cult, because Adam's family is like super parochial, very traditional. And they try to say, oh, his love of skating is the thing that made him an outcast. But you could easily, that was supposed to be an allegory for, like homosexuality, clearly.
Oh my God,
that's how it was written.
Just, you know what? Yeah.
So so I'm saying is that relationship already fits into a very strong and clear archetype that already exists in like BL and
romance in general.
Romance in general. Even there we go. Yeah. It already fits there. The Longa and Reki thing, I don't think it's quite as obvious because the nature of their relationship is actually based around, and all the twists and turns that it took were like, you could cast that easily in a completely non-romantic kind of way.
A lot of that is definitely chalked up to jealousy and just like frustration.
Yeah, and that they play with sort of like this was all a misunderstanding kind of angle on, what people think about them or what they might see.
Yeah.
But they don't lean into that special relationship the way they do with the adult characters. And so that's what I mean, like, if you wanted to...
Which might be purposeful, which is good for once.
Yes. Yes. Well, we say that, and then, like, Adam trying to, like, skate rape people to death, like children, like, that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, there are ways I could see making it I'm using the word better. I don't mean better in terms of, like, less gay. I mean better in terms of there's more meat on the bone to tell stories. Whereas if you just go right into the
not a
ship
fest.
Yeah, right. And make it more complicated. More shit to work out. Give us some opportunity to meet new characters that fit into the dynamic, but change it so that there's evolution and growth. And if you want to, at the end, pay off all of the baiting that you've been doing, go ahead. Go crazy. I think that's fine. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think that they're going to look at that show. They're going to look at all the energy that it got moving and which communities were responding, and they're just going to feed them. They're going to fucking shovel that shit into their mouths. Like, oh, you want more beautiful boys touching each other and crying into each other? Yeah, we gonna give you that shit.
Into town.
Right.
Longa's beautiful cousin who's half American,
right,
and half Japanese, not half.
Can
Canadian.
I just say one thing? If they do that, I hope they don't do the thing where it's like, oh, it's an actual beautiful boy that people think is a girl. I don't like that.
Oh,
like,
you know,
I think we're past that. I think we're past that.
No, we are not. Oh, you probably just nailed it on the fucking head.
Yeah.
Oh,
like, because to me that's where we step over the line into baiting. I'm not saying that there aren't like beautiful
that goes in perfectly
kind of people at all, but the way it tends to play out in anime, it's like, come on, we're in a more open world. We can just like
said it. That love triangle.
Yeah.
It's Longa's gonna be oblivious. The cousin's gonna be there. And then Reki's gonna get a crush on the female passing cousin.
Yeah.
Without anyone telling it. That's gonna be a comedy gag for the season.
I hope they don't do that. So we could be better than that, I think. Maybe not.
It doesn't have to be a main plot line. It could just be like a small thing. Yeah, but I would not put that past them because there's a silliness to the show that I think they would explore that just to fuck with people. But I agree. You never know.
So we talked a lot about these relationships, but what about the actual skating part of it?
I don't care. They didn't go full supernatural, so I don't even like.
So that's kind of what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
what in the very beginning about going all out versus pulling it back and trying at least to make it a little bit more grounded, because that's what I really got into, me personally. I'm not saying I wasn't feeling the other vibes. I think those were cool. But what I was getting into was like the fantastical concept of somebody coming in and using like snowboarder moves or like snowboarder like style in skating in this crazy competition that doesn't make any sense, to like, you know, show me some cool ass shit. And they almost got there, I think, in the finale. You know, with Adam going fucking crazy and that ridiculous. But then that, I think we said this both at the time when we were reviewing it. It got to the point where like they had kind of run out of ideas of what to do with the actual skating. Yeah, because we'd kind of gotten the same course the entire show. They were
only gonna skate down like that jagged fucking like thing like so many times. It's just like, okay, you have reinforced wheels. Like, it doesn't hurt you anymore. Like, right. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. Or Reki's, Reki's custom boards. The one thing that maybe might switch it up is if it's like, it's skate, but as opposed to skateboarding, they go to like inline skates and it becomes like parkour-ish, then that could be a different thing where they go to a completely different medium of skating.
Yeah. But the first half of the first season was all about teaching people who don't know anything about skateboarding.
Yeah.
The basic rules of skateboarding and doing it through the character and the relationship that he has with Longa. Like, I thought that part was actually the most compelling, because it was the one that like I could see touching lots of different audiences and still being fun. And when they got away from it in the middle and towards the end, I felt like that was a downer. I felt like this is what an opportunity we could have had to really get a lot of like cool, wild, fantastical skateboard related gimmicks. And unfortunately, it all collapsed into the Adam, Longa, Reki jealousy bit. Where we didn't really do a lot in the middle three, and then the end it came like super fast. Like, Adam's getting investigated by the government, but he's also supporting someone running for office, and then we get the crammed backstory with Tadashi, and then Tadashi
still wants to skate fuck Longa no matter what.
Right, and then like he has to have a match with Adam before we can get to the finale.
It's Adam and Eve, and Longa is his Eve, and
yes, and then like, and I'm not saying any of that was like bad, but it was crammed into. Remember when we were reviewing it, and we started getting the Tadashi flashbacks, and we realized that Tadashi actually had to have the race before Longa, but he had never been established as a character for like 9 episodes. So they just like shoved him into the competition right at the end. I was like, I'm losing track of like what matters anymore.
Yeah.
So I hope that they take notes and don't do that again. Give me more skating. Give me a couple new characters. Play with the character dynamics a little bit. Lean into the BL at the top end, and then at the bottom end, like make it more complicated. and I'm cool. That's what I want from the series. Everything else is good. Animation, good. Concept, ridiculous, good. Let's do that.
Yeah. Agreed. Did you have any news items that piqued your interest this week?
Nothing like crazy in particular. I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but there were at least one or two trailers. There's like that weird there's an unaired Mushoku Tensei OVA which I keep seeing on the list. Someone needs to tell me if I should watch should I watch this where it's supposed to be? Because it's early in the way earlier in the story, but I don't know if it's like canon.
No, you need to watch it after the end of this season, because there's a lot of shit that goes down in the final like 2 or 3 episodes. But I think I haven't watched it over myself, but I think the reasonings behind certain people making certain choices is explained in those ovas as opposed to like that stuff. So maybe you could watch it, but I don't know. I haven't watched over, so it might spoil in addition to explaining. But I mean, you don't really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, and then the only other thing is that Psycho Pass is getting another film. Okay, cool.
So
I don't know.
I have no idea what to like. I watched the first and the second season, and then after that, I was like, "What the fuck do I do next?" Like, there's a video game. There's a third season. There are movies. Are they compilation movies? Are they continuation movies?
Know.
I was like,
I don't know.
If I want to hop back in, where? Because
couldn't tell you.
I enjoyed the first 2 seasons. I enjoyed the first season way more than I enjoyed the second season. But when the third season came out, I was like, wait a second, but I feel like there's a whole bunch of supplementary material that I need now to watch this season. So that's why I didn't watch the third season, because I was just like, bruh, what? Am I going to be lost? Yes or no?
And I can't tell you very much about the third season either, because I really did not like season 2. And I think I didn't like it. I think that if season 2 had been its own show, and Psycho Pass never existed, I would probably have positive feelings about it. But because I know what they were able to pull off in season 1, the fact that it fell so short of those ideas, with like characters that were basically carbon copies of a lot of characters from season 1. Yeah, like I think that's why I fell off of it, and because of that, I don't know shit about what to do if you are also in the same boat, or even stopped at season 1. Like I have no recommendations, so I'm kind of waiting for somebody else to bite the bullet and tell me. So yeah, in addition to that, there was also a couple of Haikyuu movies also announced.
Oh yeah,
and
I just need to start Haikyuu all the way over again. I forgot.
Yeah, and I don't know if they are worth being super excited for, except for just good animation, probably.
Did you finish the manga?
I did.
Are the movies going to be the finale, or are they just going to be arcs?
Not based on the titles, because one of them looks like it's like based on a special match, which in the history of like sports anime, they get like OVA or movie treatments after the fact. They tend to like, you have to introduce like a whole new cast of antagonist players, and a lot of times it just feels like opportunity for more fan service rather than a continuation or a period, an exclamation point on a story. So I truly don't know what to think, other than it will get great production from Production IG, probably, and the music will probably be really good. But that's all I can really cop to. So I'll probably watch them whenever they come out eventually, but other than that, I don't know what else to say about it.
Oh, I have a question. Since you've read a decent chunk of Tokyo Revengers, where the fuck are the parents?
Okay.
Do they ever show up? Like, just a yes or a no? Because I'm like, I don't think someone asked.
From my memory of it, they don't.
Oh my god. Okay.
But things change a lot. How do I say this without spoiling anything? The way the future winds up in some of the iterations of the loop are so wildly different from each other that it's very possible that in some of them they did show up for something and I just don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like what we saw in the anime, like the variants. Remember, like he starts out, his life is terrible. He's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
living on his own. It's like everything's gone to shit. Then he had the one where he came back and he was like a member of the gang, but the gang had gone fucking Hollywood with that crazy motherfucker in charge. So that was very different, right? Because like when he wakes up, he's getting shuttled around in like a
Yeah, yeah,
limo, and
yeah.
he's got money. There's other versions of the future that are like almost post-apocalyptic, I guess, in some ways. So that's what I mean. Like,
Oh wow. Okay.
in some ways, not like whatever you're thinking. I'm not giving you hints because it will make sense when you get to that part of the story. But like, it's so wildly different that I just don't even know, where to put that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So the parents, as far as I remember, are not really around. But like, it's the same thing. Nobody's parents are really around except for the family of his girlfriend, who are always something's happening over there. I don't know. There was there's one piece of news that. Oh yes, I did want to talk about this real briefly. The sorta, kinda, not really announcement about Bleach and Disney Plus. So
Has that been confirmed?
no, and so that's the thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, is more like how these rumors kind of blow up, because I
Yeah,
did
because the
see.
account that tweeted it is not official, like at
No,
all.
not at all. It's technically, they are known as a leak account, but like they don't have any standing. It's not like, oh, this is a very common one. So okay, for those who are not aware, at some point in the last week, the news that Disney had acquired the distribution rights for Bleach leaked onto, I'm using leaked in a very loose way, but leaked onto Twitter, and then were picked up and amplified by all sorts of people. Some of them were clowning it, some of them were lamenting, like, oh god, like it's gonna get Disney plusified. The rumor then metastasized beyond just, oh, Disney is
Into
gonna be
memedom.
distributing, that they're somehow gonna produce the show and make it suck somehow. Because I even saw, and I tell nobody is reading anything.
Wait, some people said that they were gonna produce it.
That because they didn't understand, they thought that for some reason
Just
Disney
getting
plus
the
Bleach,
rights meant
it meant that they had bought the
owned
series, but they didn't realize that it was basically, it's more. I mean, like, it's half finished right now. So it's like, it's just like dumb shit, right? People reacting to a headline they don't even understand, that may or may not be true. I reached out to a couple of people who I know would know, if such a thing were happening, and I can tell you the following: that there has been no chatter, among the folks who should know about these things, that Disney has even had any conversation about localizing Bleach. I know for a fact that artist calls have already went out, like, I want to say last month, for the English dub of Bleach, and it was through the normal channels that would have gotten it, not through Disney channels of like hiring of voice actors. So, basically, I know people who are going up for these roles.
Lied out their ass.
I'm not saying that
fire.
they lied, but like nothing has changed about the localization process that would tell you that Disney is the one running it, and it would have to change, because Disney would get its own people involved in the VA recording side of things if it did. It might still be the same actors that got cast, but they'd be going through a different channel, okay? So that part I know for a fact has not changed. The other thing that I know is that even if Disney had bought the distribution rights, obviously, they wouldn't be doing anything to the content of the show that was being created for Japan. So, because if they got it now, that's already been animated, right? We're maybe like a month or two away, a month and a half about away from the start of that season. And we talked about this in the previous episode, that even a one core show, by the time the season starts, they are about 80%, if not more, done with all the shit that you would need to ship episodes, i.e. the first half of episodes or more are totally finished, locked, ready to go on TV by the time the season starts. So even if Disney had like bought, who produces it? I guess Viz doesn't own it. Who owns it? It's Shonen Jump and whoever's producing it. If they had
Yeah.
literally bought the whole company, it still wouldn't change anything about this season, because the production's already so far gone. Unless they canceled it and started over for some idiotic reason, which would negate the whole point of buying shit. Nothing's happening. So, all that adds up to, this is a rumor that has no evidence behind it whatsoever, but people bought into it and then went crazy with it for 3 days. And I'll admit, I thought it was funny. The shit was bad funny, like, people cutting, like, I'm Ichigo Kurosaki and you're watching Bleach on Disney Plus. Like, the people doing that shit's bad funny. I'm not, or putting all the Bleach characters in Kingdom Hearts outfits.
Oh my
and shit.
god.
Like,
the Organization 13 suits.
Yeah, like that stuff is funny, but the thing that's not so funny is the knee-jerk freakout about information that had no factual basis, to the point where it even made it to what I would consider sort of mainstream or mainstream adjacent news platforms. Not your Kotakus, not your comicbook.com, not like that level of stuff, but I was seeing the story picked up other places in legitimate print, and then people would point back to those print stories, which if you read them, they basically said a Twitter user made this claim, but because there's a headline, Disney may have acquired those rights, people then took it as being much more serious than it was. So I didn't think that was, I thought that was a perfect example of sort of the misuse of social media. Yeah, and sensationalism, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I just took it for what it was. I was just like, I mean, if it's true, I'm still gonna get it. I'm still gonna find a way to fucking watch it. And if it's not true, I'm gonna find a way to fucking watch it. Like, it be what it be. But
so yeah, that was the last bit I want to talk about. But it was less that it was news and more that it was fake news, literal fake news.
Fake it. Well, they did freak the fuck out though. Yeah, those memes are funny though. They were fucking funny.
The memes were popping. That's true.
Okay, yeah. So then I guess I actually have it's a recommendation. It's a recommendation that might become a manhwa. I feel like they're gonna make a manhwa version of this because they've been doing it with a lot of the K-dramas that are popular. But so my recommendation for this week is The Extraordinary Attorney Woo. And basically it's a Netflix Korean drama, but it's actually extremely heartfelt and just really fucking good and well put together, and it's episodic. So, I mean, there's definitely like a continuing through line story, but the main thing about the show is that the main character has high functioning autism, but she's a genius lawyer, wherein the fact that she literally like memorizes like damn near like everything that she reads. And so she ended up, when she was really little, she didn't talk until she was 5 years old. And when she first talked, she was just like mouthing off like law terms and like from like a law because her father was getting assaulted. And
wait, is this Attorney Woo?
Yeah, Attorney Woo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My wife loves this. I was like blanking. I was like, I know this show. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just started watching it on Saturday, and I've just been like, this is so fucking good.
Yeah, I have actually seen the first few episodes of that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, well then, then y'all, it's really fucking good. It's heartfelt. They're not afraid. I mean, they're not, well, no, actually they're dealing with a lot. They deal with everything, because we done got, I got suicide, like North Korean defector shit going on, like orphan, like they're going on it, but also they're not ignoring the main character. They didn't just do like a one-time gimmick where they're like, she has autism, but she's a genius, so she can handle all this. It's like, no, like she has autism and she's actually learning how to deal with people because her primary human interactions have been her father and her best friend. And those have primarily just been defending her from other people just being absolute filth to people with disabilities. So it's just so good. And it shines a light, like it puts a mirror up to the fucking like TV screen. Sometimes it's like, you done this shit too, haven't you? You sure have. Absolutely. But also, as someone who enjoys Law and Order SVU a lot, I love it. Like just law shows, and not so much cops. The cops are like non-existent in the show, which is something that I like. But it's primarily about like what goes on in the law office, and like in the beginning, it's more so of, following the law to the code. But then she herself, because she's autistic and she like is very like organized and things have to be in a certain way, she has to learn that like sometimes you cannot just do this shit like straightforward. You have to like finesse and sometimes you gotta do a little something to get some results. So
yeah, there were like 3 real big scenes for me. I won't go through all of them, but like the one that really got me, I think, was probably from the 3rd episode. It might be the 2nd episode, or it could be the 3rd episode, which is the one where she's thinking about like, okay, because I'm autistic, I'm never going to get married and like have like the kind of moments for my father. And at the end, when she apologizes to him for that she'll never be able to give him that, and kind of like walks out of scene, and the look on the father's face is just like completely crushed, like because she finally brought him home like food from a fancy place. Like I was like, oh, you're killing me, guys. It's killing me. There was that one. And
then she's like, I'm gonna go take a shower.
Yeah, and then she just like lights out of there. I'm like, bro, this is some heavy. This is heavy as fuck. Like seriously. And as you point out, like, her growth as a character, they go out of their way to make it to be very clear that her disability is a disability, but at the same time, it's not like she's not a character you're supposed to pity in the show at all. Even when she's making,
because she's not helpless.
Yeah, absolutely not helpless. Absolutely alive in her own story, which. Maybe I underestimated that from, a foreign drama, and that was to my detriment, because they do such a better job, I think, presenting like both her struggle with mental health, but just her life as a kind of a full life where the people around her, they probably have more problems, dealing with people than she does, because for her it is very straightforward. Which I thought was a great touch. And I think the last thing, you mentioned like Law and Order, and like you're into those shows. I'm also into them, and one of my favorite was Criminal Intent. But I always had this thing when I was watching, was like, because I don't know Korean law, there would be times when things would happen. I'm like, can you do that? like when the bride, I don't want to give away if anyone's gonna watch it, but there's a scene or episode that's more about like tort a little bit, where it involves a hotel and a wedding that doesn't go the right way, and there's a reveal that happens in court where I'm like, I don't think you could just do that but that's an American court. I don't know what you're allowed to just do in a Korean court.
Yeah.
That's just because I'm ignorant. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with the show at all.
And that's another thing, though. I could be like, they could be saying shit on here that is definitely not in the Korean fucking law.
Yeah, there's bad defamation that happens in these courtrooms. There's an episode where one of the attorneys straight up says, like, you can't try this person because you're autistic. And I'm like, you could not do that in American court.
Yeah. Oh, that was so. Ooh, I fucking hated that episode.
Oh, that was a wild episode. God. Well, she got him on that one at the end, but still.
Yeah, but no, that also, that's one of the episodes that made me love it so much more, where they, like, those problems, they weren't just like, and that was the end of that episode. Like, that shit is still like, it's still folding over into the rest of the series right now.
Exactly.
Because niggas never apologize. Actually, a lot of them didn't even realize the position that they put her in.
No.
They're still just using her. So, yeah, that shit's still, like, it's snowballing. So I'm like, thank you. Like, I'm still, like, all that shit from there. Yeah, bring it back up. Because she didn't have the, like, ability to do that then. But, like, okay. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a really good series, y'all. Like,
and I could say my wife liked it a lot. And she was the one who actually introduced it to me.
I think the last 2 episodes are coming out this week, too.
Okay, yeah.
Which is something that I do like about Netflix's release schedule for K-dramas. I don't know if any other platform does it, but Netflix releases 2 episodes per week. So they're doing an episode, I think, on Monday and an episode on Thursday. And that's not bad, because you don't have that huge of a wait between, like, the next one. Like, one is 2 days, the next one's 3 days. Like, bam, you get your next fix. It's a nice way to keep people, like, coming back constantly. So,
yep.
Yeah, that was my recommendation.
Okay. Well, I have a kind of loose recommendation because it's not a very long series. It was one that I started to get super frustrated with because of the pacing. But now I'm like, I'm thirsty for more. And so it's a manhwa series called Night Under Heart. I don't even know if it's like there's more than 10 10 chapters out through Webtoon, but there are other ways that you can read it if you want to be kind of caught up. And it's, my habit is like I tend to like series that take overdone concepts and then drill into one part of them that actually tends to work very well and stay on that. So in the case of Night Under Heart, it's not an isekai, but a trapped in a VR game type series, but it's not permanently trapped.
Wait,
the general gist of it is
like SAO a little bit.
It definitely takes inspiration, but the intent and the focus is so much more clear cut. So the general concept is that the main character is a very, very, very motivated teen gamer who gets access to a game that uses VR, but instead of like in his house or whatever getting trapped, he's invited to do like a beta test program and work for the company that's making this game. He's essentially lured into the simulator where he's forced to relive a war scene under conditions where he can feel everything, and including his own death. And he's forced to relive that scene tens, 20s, hundreds of times with the goal of breaking his mind in order to test the limits of what this machine and the simulation can do. Now, there's more to it than that, and there's a plot that spins out into the real world that they're only just starting to touch on. But I want to just hone in on something I really liked about this series, that I had to get over my own biases to enjoy. So there's only about 30 chapters or so that are currently out and translated right now. But basically, if you start from like chapter 2 or 3, where he gets into the simulation, there's 20 plus chapters of the same scene playing out again and again and again. And normally in these types of stories, because the audience is so primed to know what the tropes are, I've watched SAO, or I've watched this other or read this other very similar story, authors will tend to just skip all of the interesting grind and get right to the power fantasy of the main character going berserk and he's crazy and super skilled. This series does the exact opposite. It's chapter after chapter of the main character shitting his pants and dying in horrific ways, cursing his life, cursing the system that he's now stuck in, not understanding anything that's going on, and it is deliberately paced exceptionally slowly. So that by the time you're at like chapter 25 and his brain hasn't broken, and now he's just filled with rage, and he's starting to test the limits of the system and figuring out that like something is wrong here, something like, the growth is actually earned. Whereas like even in SAO they skip like everything from the moment Kirito is trapped in the game to when he's the Black Swordsman.
Yeah.
They do that in one episode. They skip all of it. In like, there's like one flashback to when like he's already overpowered, but like he hasn't gone on with the plot, and it's like he meet that other party, and then they all die, and that's supposed to be like his motivation to be a loner piece of shit for a while. Like, but other than that, they skip everything in the middle of the story, that first season, just to get to him being a badass who can't die. Because his stats are maxed out. This is the polar opposite. There are almost no characters in this story. It's basically the main character, a NPC. Well, we don't know if she's an NPC. Someone we suspect is an NPC who continually dies to save his life before he gets horrifically murdered. There's like a couple other like very cowardly supporting NPCs that are there that he slowly figures out have been programmed to screw him. And make him not even question whether what he's been tasked to do is the point of the simulation. And it takes a while. It takes like 15 to 18 chapters for him to figure out that like there's more going on than this like war scene where he's suddenly thrust into fighting. Everyone runs away, and he gets killed by a horde of soldiers. Like it takes a while, but then once he figures out them motherfuckers are fucking him, the tone of the whole story just shifts in the way where you want him to take revenge on all these shitty characters that are around him, and because
earned revenge.
100%. And because he constantly dies and loops, him figuring out what he has to change in order to get to a stage of what's going. There's a lot of dead ends. Like he reaches a lot of dead ends and realizes like this is wrong, something is fucked up. But it's not like a world-spanning story, nor is it even as big as something like Summertime Rendering. Like it's a very tight, scoped story that we're following. And by the time I'm at where I'm at, where things happen and he's able to make a little bit of significant progress, I'm now so interested in the other mystery of what's going on, because there's a character that you're introduced to right in the beginning that you think is the person that he's fixated on, but it turns out they aren't. And when he meets that character later, instead of like saying, "Oh, thank God, another human," the first thing he does is he breaks this bitch's legs.
Oh, what?
And I was here for it. He fucking stretches her and breaks her legs. He's like, "Bitch, I know you in on it too." Like, and we don't know if that's true. We don't know.
Oh my God.
We don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I have it up here, so
Yep. It's called Night Under Heart. It was a quick find this week. I thought it was pretty fun. Now I'm like kind of bugging because I'm like, I could have waited on this one and it could have built up some more shit, and because I'm into it. I'm into it, and yeah, so that's my recommendation for the week. Other than if you haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho in modern times, go do that too, because that's also great.
Indeed. Okay, well, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe, comment on the YouTube video, but you can also find us on regular anime_savants on Twitter, and then anime savants on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean.
Look at that.
All of the thingies. It's out there, and if you can rate it, please.
Yes, please. You can catch me on Twitter at Neural Handshake. I think I said last week some folks were very kind to point me in the direction of some good mon we're reading I had not been aware of or had lost track of. I got one recommendation this week. Unfortunately, I'd already read it, so thank you. But if you guys have ideas, stuff you've run across, there is another series that I will talk about at a later date. It's not much to it, and wildly enough, it's actually a manhwa, which is Chinese, but it's pretty freaking good. It's just not a lot has been released yet, so I want to hold back on a recommendation until there's a little more meat on the bone. But that shit is coming, so thank you guys.
Yeah, good shit. Alrighty, that's all. Bye.
Peace out.